Quickly, I want to address this. Apparently, she was at a convention with some other folks that she streams with. One of them being like the one of the bottom feeders of the Fandom Menace, which is Raging Rhino, who just can't seem to. He's the bird that can't fly in the Fandom Menace, and so he just kind of he's there, just around. He went to the convention. He decided to IRL harass someone from Twitter who had asked YouTube to. It was back when they were doing the campaign for YouTube to enforce their TOS. It's still kind of happening, but there was a couple weeks ago it was happening pretty heavily. So this person, I guess, was part of that campaign, as far as I know. And they were there minding their business. Raging Rhino went over and decided to say something to them. They went on social media, called out Raging Rhino, and then Anna, being a creep, took a picture of this person standing there and then decided to post that on social media to shame them for how they look physically.
That's not true. Raging Rhino was talking to this person, and then this person got on social media and lied on Raging Rhino, and Star Wars Girl pulled out all the receipts proving that this person lied on Raging Rhino, and then on top of that, she also proved that this girl who lied on Raging Rhino was also following them the whole time. Just to put it into context, Star Wars Girl was at a Comic-Con event. Her, Raging Rhino, and a few of her friends were with her. They were all at a Comic-Con event being followed by this girl at the event.
She says, because she's one that gets away with a lot of dumb shit. She has like a very passionate amount of minions that follow her around. Anyway, this is from the term cancel pigs when she talks about people. She loves to do that, but then their community gets mad when one of their members gets compared to a Miss Piggy Muppet.
That's not what she's saying. They're not making fun of the way the woke people look. They're simply pointing out fair criticism because of the fact that that's the space that Rian Johnson and the woman who was the leading lady for Star Wars Acolyte, they're simply responding to what they started. Rian Johnson made a really bad Star Wars sequel called The Last Jedi. Understand that, mate. And then, after he made The Last Jedi, he sat there and kept attacking fans, calling them man babies and all kinds of names. And then, on top of that, the leading lady from Star Wars Acolyte, after that show got cancelled, she's on the internet with a video calling all of the people that don't like the TV show alt-right trolls. So because of the fact that that's what Rian Johnson and the leading lady from Star Wars Acolyte, that's what they started. So it's fair criticism for Star Wars Girl to call the woke people pigs, because these woke activists, they won't stop acting like trolls.
Clone troopers include the first look at Sister, a trans whammon clone trooper. What?
I will say, if you're still using whammon as an insult in 2024, you probably should double check to make sure that you're taking care of your dentures at night and that you're going to bed at a good hour, because, you know, older people, we need to take care of ourselves. And when you're saying whammon, clearly you have to be much older than me to still be using that word in 2024. Let's continue.
What's up, everyone? It's all they care about is their agenda. They don't even realize how they're just memeing themselves at this point. Like,
well, what's the agenda? I keep hearing about this agenda, and I think every time that I've asked someone to explain it to me, it's been a different answer every single time. It's been a different answer. Sometimes it's about, Evia said it's about glorifying it, right? So here we're clearly not glorifying it. This is a trans person who's working as a trooper. So this isn't like a glorification of a trans person. So if it's not glorifying it, then that would be one explanation for the agenda. The other one is like indoctrinating, the youth to be this way. I don't see how this is indoctrination either, because this is a clone trooper, right? A random clone trooper. This isn't like a lead character or anything like that. This is literally just a background character in some stories, right? So that argument doesn't hold up either. So when you say the agenda, I think you have lost the plot. I actually think your entire community has lost the plot. At one point, you were all on the same page about this. Now it feels like you're just saying it about anything and everything that is gay or trans or diverse or whatever. And you don't really have a specific thing in mind, which is why it feels like phobia. You know what I mean? It feels like that. That's what it's giving.
They are a pair.
What they don't like is the fact that Disney is changing Star Wars, and they're putting concepts in there that weren't in the original franchise that George Lucas created. They're adding things in there like gender identity politics, and then on top of that, they made a Han Solo spin-off movie that no one asked about, that no one asked for, and then they had the nerve to put Lando Calrissian in the movie as a pansexual, and they made him pansexual just because he wanted to get it on with a robot. People don't like their favorite franchises being bastardized. Geeks and Gamers said it better than me, so take it away.
Welcome to the real world. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what skin color you are. It doesn't matter who you sleep with. It doesn't matter who you vote for. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter. The internet will go after you in some capacity. You can centrally focus on a few negative comments and build a fake narrative out of that if you want to. But the reality of the situation is people are passionate about IPs like Star Wars and Marvel and DC and so on and so forth, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, whatever. If you're going to sit there and hyper-focus on a few negative comments and try to build an entire narrative and say the entire fandom is like this, guess what the fandom's going to do? They're going to challenge that, and they're going to let you know how much they don't like you. Canceled show. It's amazing. It's amazing when you get involved with a property that has a pre-existing fan base and you disrespect that fan base and you disrespect the lore involved with that fan base. It's amazing how people might be a little unhappy and they may give criticism to you based on the fact that you are not respecting what came before you, even though you're trying to take full advantage of that very thing that came before you. Criticism is not racism. Now, do you want to point out that maybe you got a comment here or a comment there? Sure. Is anybody going to think that's okay? Of course not. But I would argue that the heavy majority of the negativity was valid criticism of a very bad show that you were in. A very bad show. Now, that doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't make anybody a bad person. Making a bad show does not make the creative people involved bad people. Just make a bad show, that's fine. There's a lot of bad movies and bad shows that I like by everybody else's standards, and that's totally fine. I don't need everyone else to like what I like, and I also don't need to paint negative pictures about people that don't like something simply to make me feel better about myself. It doesn't matter to me. I'm okay liking bad stuff. I'm okay liking unpopular stuff or things that weren't successful. That is totally fine with me.
The street, you're just a random celebrity that was born into privilege with millionaire parents. I'm not going to believe you based on your word that everyone that was critical of Star Wars was an alt-right troll. Basically, because I myself have been critical of Star Wars, and I'm not an alt-right troll. I've been getting shit for weeks ever since I started talking about and, watching this show and giving my opinion on it. And it's like, oh, they use the buzzwords. Oh, well, you're white. I'm like, I'm not white. They're like, oh, you're a toxic male incel. And I'm like, I'm not a dude and I'm not an incel. I'm married and I'm pregnant. So what excuse do you have now? And they just go block. They just block because they can't argue with my points because these people don't know anything about Star Wars, and they just have their checklist. That's all this is. It's a checklist of buzzwords, and they can't argue. They can't form a logical argument with you because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And so they just say these things and repeat these things. And so do I believe that there was, people that were critical and there were probably some trolls that said inappropriate things? Of course. You can go through my timeline and see all the inappropriate things that people have said to me. They, say that I should abort my baby, that I'm going to be a terrible parent. They, make all these accusations about me that I'm a male white incel, that I live in my mother's basement. I've been getting that for years. And I'm just like, I just explained to you why this show wasn't good. And I made cohesive arguments point by point. How does that make me any of those things? But again, they can't argue with you because they're not intelligent enough and they don't know the source material. And apparently they just turn off their brains and they watch this stuff and they don't actually care. So they just want content. That's it. Just give us content. It doesn't have to make sense. We just want this thing, and we have absolutely no standards for it whatsoever. And then they get threatened by people that actually have knowledge and actually have standards. And because there's so many idiots out there, we get stuff like this that just gets repeated around, and it's like a game of telephone.
It's very hard to earn that amount, and Deadpool and Wolverine is sailing past it. Like, for real, man, this is great for the comic book movie genre. Many people continue to say that the comic book movie genre is dying, right? It's fatigue, superhero movie fatigue. And I refuse to believe that. I really do. I will always say, as long as a movie looks interesting, it actually attempts to satisfy you, entertain you, right? And also give you what you want, then you could enjoy it. That's how I feel. See, many studios, they have been failing at this. They have been pretty much in their own space, right? They are giving you project after project that you're not asking for. And then they're wondering why those projects are failing. But Ryan Reynolds, he gets it. He understands what people wanted. He heard people for so long say this: we want to see Wolverine in the yellow, blue suit. That is iconic. It's a damn shame it took us, nearly 30 years to get that? Come on, man. And Ryan Reynolds came right out of the gate. Here, have it. You want to see Channing Tatum as Gambit? Have it. You want to see that a Wesley Snipes as Blade once again? Have it. At this point, Ryan Reynolds and Oprah are the same damn people. You get what you want. 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 Like, for real, man, this is great news. $1 billion for another superhero movie. That's right, baby. It ain't going nowhere anytime soon. As long as studios listen to the fans. As long as studios understand what we want. Remember my video from yesterday, the Blade video. I said, listen, they have the ability to communicate with us these nowadays. So they damn sure better do that. Like, for real, it is so easy. Now, let's
Look, this dude even puts this in here. They're trying to make Anakin have dialogue so that way Anakin can justify this. So it's like, oh, hey guys, remember Anakin Skywalker?
Well, what do they not go back to what you were saying before? You said they don't know anything about the clones. I want you to explain to me why this would be any different than any other variation of a clone. We've got an entire series called The Bad Batch about clones that are not the same. So I would love for you to explain to me why a trans clone is fundamentally different than all of these other clones with completely different personalities, completely different skill sets. I would love for you to explain that to me in a way that doesn't come off as transphobia. I would really appreciate that. If you're going to do it, maybe she does. Maybe she does.
Well, guess what? Now we're changing it. He's not the chosen one anymore because he's a toxic man that was created by George Lucas.
Again with that sarcasm.
We got to destroy everything that George Lucas created.
Your audience eats that shit up.
We need like some validation. Like we need the OG fans, the actual Star Wars fans, not like the crazy Disney fans.
Well, Anakin isn't an OG Star Wars character, right? That's a prequel character. We knew of Anakin, sort of, but we never really met Anakin as Anakin in the original trilogy. So Anakin is not an OG character. Anakin is basically a prequel character, which is fine, but let's not pretend that was one of those characters that was a big deal prior to the prequels. Darth Vader was a big deal. Anakin became important, honestly, during the prequel era.
To get behind this, let's have Anakin. So that way it's like, oh, well, you have to listen because Anakin said so. So
Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader are both the same person. They're both one and the same person. So understand that. And then on top of that, the Revenge of the Sith Star Wars movie also set that up. They set it up right toward the end of the fucking film. We saw Anakin Skywalker and he's fighting Obi-Wan Kenobi. He gets badly wounded. And then Chancellor Palpatine saves him and turns Anakin Skywalker into Darth Vader. My goodness, I can't believe you don't know that Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader are both the same person. You don't know that? I don't think he knows that.
How the fuck doesn't he know that? It's stupid.
Was made female instead of male, so they messed with the genes. If you guys want to elaborate more for me in the chat, go ahead.
So you were on here with the name ThatStarWarsGirl, complaining about this stuff, and you don't even know the answer to this. I'm not even deep into Star Wars lore, and these are surface level things about Star Wars. This is why when we say these people are not fans, we're not saying they were never fans. We're saying they're not currently fans of Star Wars. Nothing screams that more than I stopped watching something recent, but I'm still complaining about stuff they're making now. That's wild. That's wild to me.
I honestly had no interest at the show. Disney has turned me so off from anything that they...
Correction. They're fans that don't like the fact that their franchise was being bastardized by a bunch of woke activists.
She already count as a trans character, so wouldn't that like negate?
So there can only be one? You have to have the one token trans character? Just one. You can only have one. You can't have two different characters that could be considered trans with two different stories. You can only have one, and it has to be this version here with like a DNA thing. That's the only way. We can't do it another way where a character realizes their trans identity as they're growing up. It has to be the other way. Like, this is just so dumb. It's just so dumb and so disingenuous.
Gate this ma'am character because Omega technically, she is a clone, right?
She's not saying that there can only be one transgender character. What she is saying is that the first transgender character in Star Wars was Omega Fett from Bad Batch. She's saying that that character predated the sister clone trooper. I can't believe you don't know that. You don't know that? I don't think he knows that.
How the fuck doesn't he know that? It's stupid.
Fucking ignorance.
Just make this person irrelevant at this point because you're not the first trans clone trooper. I mean,
so because someone's not the first, they're irrelevant? In a world where there's only like two trans characters, according to what you're saying here? If that were the case? That's crazy. That's fucking crazy.
Maybe this person think about it this much, you've got a problem. Like, just tell a good story. Is it really that hard?
Well, it would, if you were critiquing a story, maybe, But we're 5 minutes, we're almost halfway into your video, and there is no story. You read a description of the character, and you quoted a line of dialogue. There is no story for this character that you are talking about. So how are you complaining about a good story when you haven't even talked about a story?
The answer is yes. Yes, it is that hard because it's Disney. They can't come up with good stories, so they're just like, hey, you know that thing that's trendy right now? Well, guess what? We're putting that in Star Wars.
She is not saying that it's wrong to have a transgender character or an LBGT character in a science fiction story. What she's clearly saying is that have it in there, but have a compelling reason to put it in the story. How you don't know that baffles me.
So I'm going to go some deep lore on you guys. Now, if you guys haven't read any of like the Star Wars EU novels, there was this one trilogy.
The issue with this is this doesn't matter. Like, you can have an issue with the way Disney has split off from the EU in general and say, well, I don't like that they have done that. But you can't use the EU now to apply that to anything that Disney is doing with the current properties. I know that you guys like to. You totally love to do that. But you can't, because it doesn't line up. It doesn't matter. They've already established that they're not doing that. So none of that matters. But let's hear what you have to say.
Which is, it's probably known as like some of the best Star Wars EU novels. And this for a very long time was considered like the Star.
The EU does matter. It is important to Star Wars. It is the expanded universe. And just because Kathleen Kennedy says it's not canon anymore, that doesn't mean that it doesn't matter. It's good stuff. The reason they're not doing the EU is because they want to bastardize Star Wars with a bunch of woke identity politic nonsense.
Is a messed up clone because cloning, surprise, surprise, is not easy. And guys, just to prove to you how popular these books are, they're selling action figures of them on the official Disney.
Okay, well, I would love for you to get to the point. What does this have to do with what you were just talking about? I mean, are you just mad that the expanded universe isn't still around? Like, yeah, there's a lot of different clones. I get it. What does that have to do with the two characters you were talking about?
Disney store stuff from Star Wars and forever, but I'm actually considering buying this because this is cool. This
Great.
is awesome. This is something
Nothing wrong with
that the
that.
fans have been wanting for
Awesome.
decades. Like, come on, they could have made the movie. Like, do you think they could sell a set of Kylo Ren, Finn, Rey, and I don't know, Poe for $100? No, absolutely not.
Is there something comparable in the shop to look at? Because this is like a special edition thing, right? I mean, this is something they released as like a limited time item, I'm guessing. It doesn't look like it's going to be in the shop forever. So is there a comparable like one-for-one set, or are you just saying that? I feel like you're just saying that. Because I know the last time I looked, the Kylo Ren lightsaber is like $180 or something. So clearly there's a market for Kylo Ren. But anyway, let's continue.
But you know what people might buy? This. Again, I'm considering freaking buying this because this is awesome. Look, you got Master Sabayoth. You got
considering.
Luke, you got Mara Jade.
That's
important.
important.
And then you got the evil clone of Luke. So for those that don't know what happened.
So what does this have to do with... Hold on for a second. You were talking very positively about this. And you have not purchased it yet. So you would be the actual target market for that. You would be the market that would go out and spend $100 on those toys. And you haven't pulled the trigger on that yet. So that tells me that you're wrong. You were wrong. You, someone who's a content creator on YouTube that could benefit from actually investing in this, you could do an unboxing and talk about it and all this shit. You could do all of that. You haven't done it yet. So your argument is that A, that is what fans want. They would spend money on it. You haven't. B, that it would sell, that it sells more than a Kylo Ren set, which I don't think there is a Kylo Ren set like that. I looked even on eBay, didn't see anything, so I don't think there is one. So that's a special set they've made. That's disingenuous. Then you compare it to this character from this new book that just came out a couple days ago that isn't even like a major character in anything, and saying that this would sell more than that, which is uncomparable for a multitude of reasons. Primarily because that character doesn't have a toy set. Not that I saw. So this is all garbage. It's all just garbage, straw man hypotheticals.
Better because it deals with stuff like with Luke, and then also
Luke is not the only important character in the fucking
they're
universe.
trying to go hunt down Thrawn's clone in it, and they talk about the clones in these because it's a taboo thing. So in Star Wars, for the people that work at Disney that don't know shit about Star Wars, I'm going to explain something to you. The clones aren't looked at as people. They're not. They're not even human. They're like subhuman.
That is the argument and the debate in the fucking movies, is the validity of clones as individuals. They cover that in Bad Batch. They talk about it quite heavily in lots of Star Wars topics. Like, if you consider clones to not be human or subhuman, if that is your argument here, that's really gross. That's really gross. But anyway, let's go on.
It's just how aliens, the Emperor notoriously didn't like aliens. Thrawn was the only alien in, the Empire that had any form of power because the Emperor doesn't trust aliens. Palpatine doesn't trust or really like aliens.
Oh no, xenophobia. Wow. Amazing. Something that mirrors our real life. Literally the shit that you're doing right now. You don't like trans people. That's why you're making this video. And so you're talking about this story with like a xenophobic control freak who doesn't like aliens. Wow, it's just the parallels. Holy shit.
Which was why it was so monumental for Thrawn.
Hey, mate. Understand this, mate. In the universe of Star Wars, the galactic empire of villains such as Chancellor Palpatine and Darth Vader, they are racist against aliens. That's what Star Wars Girl is trying to say. That's in the lore of Star Wars, that the villains that call themselves the Galactic Empire, they are racist against aliens. How you don't understand that baffles me to no end. You don't know that? I don't think he knows that.
How the fuck doesn't he know that? It's stupid.
To rise to the status that he did. And when they deal with clones...
So you mean that Thrawn broke through to someone who was expressing a xenophobic stance and was allowed to, well, not allowed, broke through to show the validity of him as a person, as an individual, and you admire that. Whereas here you're talking about this trans trooper should be suppressed and not allowed to be a thing. So that's crazy. Okay, anyway.
Here, clones aren't seen as human beings. They are seen as tools.
What the fuck does that have to do with
honestly,
anything?
I felt like droids
with
get
anything.
more respect than...
You mean the same way that it's disingenuous that you lied and said that Troll Girl was being attacked because of her looks when she was clearly being attacked because she was a troll? That lied on Raging Rhino and said that he yelled at her when he clearly did not yell at her. Star Wars Girl is explaining how clones are treated like second-class citizens, and then on top of that, she's also explaining how the EU makes more money than Disney Star Wars. How you don't understand that baffles me to no end. How you don't know that? You don't know that? I don't think he knows that.
How the fuck doesn't he know that? It's stupid.
Protect themselves. That was their tool against predators. Like, they even made action figures of them. Like, this is the original Tron action figure that came out decades ago. Freaking decades ago. Oh my god, it makes me so mad. This is the one that came out with the
Why does
comic
it make
book
you
two-pack,
mad?
And then I guess they did a Black Series.
Why does that make you mad? I love my older toys. There's a lot of old toys from old franchises that I love. Why does that make you mad? What makes you mad about looking at this toy?
Series one where they actually have Luke in one as well. But it's like, guys, even this character, this random little creature that was in a book decades ago has an action figure that kids want, that actually know about Star Wars, that people will actually buy. He's gonna want It's Ma'am because this was created by people that don't know.
Well, it's Ma'am, according to you, sister, the trans character, isn't. They're not selling this as a toy, right? I haven't seen this character as an action figure. They may not even intend to make this character an action figure. So that whole straw man you were creating, that whole hypothetical you're creating, doesn't mean anything.
Anything about Star Wars. If you want a trans character, that's fine.
Apparently
That's
it's not.
completely fine with
Apparently
me.
it's not.
Go ahead and make a trans character. But
I would believe you, except that the only two trans characters that you have mentioned here, one of them possibly being an allegory for being trans and then an actual trans character, you don't like either one of them. One of them was actually in a series that you didn't watch, so you don't even know if the story is good or not. And this one doesn't even really have a story yet. So I don't, this doesn't make any sense. You understand that, right?
you need to make it make sense and actually have a story.
How does
behind
it not
and
make
just
sense?
Don't use this thing just for. I want to. I mean, I can't even say clout because this isn't really clout. Don't use it just to push your narrative and your agenda. Have an actual story to it. Don't just throw in a character, give them the It's Ma'am face, and then paint all of this on there. That just shows that you don't even respect.
You are so fucking ignorant, Anna. You're really ignorant. You're either ignorant and or stupid. Literally, a character in a book that has barely done anything in the whole universe, and you're complaining about not having a good story. We don't even know if this character is going to be used anywhere outside of where they've already been placed. And you say give a good story, but you're not watching Star Wars. You don't like it already. So it doesn't matter if this story was perfect. You've already established that you don't like Disney Star Wars. So that's not even really what you're asking here. You're expressing transphobia and bigotry is what you're doing.
People that are actually trans, you just see them as props to push your agenda. It's insulting to trans people and it's insulting to Star Wars.
Oh, so now you care about trans people. Fuck off. Fuck all the way off. You don't care about trans people and you don't care about gay people. That is one of the most disingenuous things you said in this fucking video. Wasn't for clout. You just said it wasn't. Now you're saying it is.
And it disrespects people that are actually trans because
Stop
all
with
you're
that.
doing
Stop,
is
Anna. That
utilizing
sounds
them
so fucking
for props.
stupid.
You don't actually care about storytelling.
You're repeating yourself.
You don't actually care about
You're
these
repeating
people
yourself.
or the condition. All you care about is saying like, oh, this thing's trending right now. Okay, so then we're just gonna put this in there. You are again dehumanizing them and using this as a prop. It gives me a headache because it's unmasculine. You're fake geek girls. The fact that me, a whammon, you know how allegedly, oh, there was no girls like Star Wars before Kathleen Kennedy came and took over. But it's like, Kathleen Kennedy, I bet you don't even know this book exists. Well, remember when she said, we don't have novels or source material? It's like she already proved she didn't know this shit.
Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy, the person that oversees everything, has no idea that the toys that came out based on this book, that book exists. No idea whatsoever. Yeah, that makes sense.
Exists. She doesn't know about this. She probably isn't even aware of this action figure set. It's like the head of Lucasfilm doesn't know shit about Star Wars. She's a fake geek girl. The people that made It's Ma'am, fake geek girls.
Oh my God.
None of them know shit about Star Wars, or they might actually.
I can't take any more of this. Look.
They're not being transphobic. They're just telling the truth about the woke activists bastardizing their franchises. So stop with the straw man, you dipshit. I run an independent channel. but I'm part of the Fandom Menace, even though my channel is mostly dedicated to politics, and I only deal with pop culture stuff once in a blue moon. Star Wars Girl, your video was amazing, mate. I love your video. Thumbs down, mate. You don't know what you're talking about.